Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Forewoman of the grand jury investigating Donald Trump finds herself under fire today. Emily Kohrs just wrapped up an 8-month investigation into alleged election interference by Trump and his cronies in Georgia. So why is she speaking out? Grand jury proceedings are usually kept secret.
Did you recommend charges against Donald Trump?
I really don't want to share something that the judge made a conscious decision not to share. I will say that when this list comes out, there are no major plot twists waiting for you.
She giggles nervously and bats her eyelashes, trying hard not to say something she shouldn't.
People are going to hear that and they're going to think that means that Donald Trump is definitely on that list. I know it's delicate, but can you speak to that?
I can't. Well, I might be able to according to instructions, but I don't want to.
This is a horrible idea, and I guarantee you that prosecutors are wincing watching her go on this.
Some say Trump's lawyers could use the forewoman's interview to get any charges against him thrown out. We spoke to famed lawyer Alan Dershowitz. Do you think that Donald Trump's lawyers and the other potential defendants might use this interview against the prosecutor?
I certainly would be doing that. And the idea of a foreperson spreading essentially gossip about what went on in a grand jury is totally against the spirit of the grand jury's role to protect defendants.
And now Trump is going after the forewoman on Truth Social. You have the, get this, foreperson going after and doing a media tour. This is not justice. This is an illegal kangaroo court. He flew to East Palestine, Ohio today, where the locals are still reeling from a train derailment earlier this month that spewed toxic chemicals into the air.
You are not forgotten. We stand with you. We pray for you.
The crisis is turning into a political battleground, with Republicans, including the town mayor, blasting President Biden for supposedly paying more attention to Ukraine than their stricken small town.
It was the biggest slap in the face that tells you right now he doesn't care about us.
Federal agencies are on site. They say testing has shown that the air is clean and the town's water supply is safe.
It's pretty good water. Good water. Taste. Yeah. I'll take seconds.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Good to see everybody here. Today was a nice sunny day out, but we're supposed to get snow, and they say between 6 to 10 inches, okay, which really isn't that much, but since this whole winter we haven't really got a whole lot of snow to speak of, so this will probably be the biggest snow accumulation here of the season, so I don't know. Anyway, everybody is all in a panic as usual just before they hear the word snowstorm. Everybody runs to the grocery store like they're going to be snowed in for the next 6 months. And it's like, well, the plows are never going to get around. We'll never see daylight. It's like, you guys have grew up in this state. You've been through how many winters around here, and when was there ever a time where we had a snowstorm and you couldn't get out either the next day or the day after to go anywhere? Never. Okay? That's never happened. Okay? So there's no point in panicking, okay? You don't need to go out there and stock up on water and toilet paper and shit like that just because we're having a storm, tonight. they'll have the roads clear out by midday tomorrow at the least. You know, so I don't know. It's just crazy how some people are around here. But you would think after all this time, people would learn about, you know, how it is, you know, in Maine, how to deal with snowstorms. So anyway, as you saw when I started the video here, that there's this crazy jury foreman who was on the grand jury to indicate whether or not there was stuff there that Trump should be indicted on for the phone call he made to Georgia about trying to find so many votes to beat Biden during the election. Okay, so you know, a lot of people are like, who is this woman, because of her behavior. She's like laughing and smiling and acting so like giddy. Ooh, I saw that. I wish I had seen Trump. You know, it's like, you know, who is that? She's a 30-year-old woman. She's acting like she's 16. Okay, some people are speculating that maybe she's been paid off, you know, that she's making money. Well, of course she's making money, because she's been traveling the goddamn news stations here for the last couple of days doing interviews. So yeah, they're paying her probably to come up on their show, and she's making money and she's happy about it. You know, it's like, what luck, I get chose, you know. But yeah, I mean, it gives you this feeling like, remember when Giuliani was at that mock hearing the Republicans put on, and he had that crazy young lady that looked like she came from a sitcom sitting next to him, and she was sitting there running her mouth. It's like that. And I'm thinking, you know, is this Giuliani here again? You know, putting somebody up on the foreman status here, and this is a way of them to tamper with this thing. You know, I don't know. I mean, you have to wonder when you see things that don't look right. You have to ask, you know, because it's not paranoia and it's not being conspiratorial. It's just you see a pattern, okay, and the pattern usually indicates something is coming up. Okay, like we know every October during an election cycle, there's this, what they call the October surprise. Something is always waiting in the wings for October to shoot down anybody's chances of winning for November. Okay, and so here we see this ditzy woman here sitting in the foreman's seat of the grand jury here, and for one thing, this was in Georgia. This juror lives in Georgia. She didn't sound Southern to me. I mean, you know, I've lived in Florida, Texas, and everybody down there has an accent, okay? And, you know, this woman did not sound like she came from Georgia. It sounded more like, you know, northeastern kind of talk. You know, maybe like, well, I wasn't going to say that, but, you know, maybe a little bit around, you know, outside of New York City, you know, probably in the suburbs or something. You know, she has sort of a, you know, a normal accent, if any. I mean, but it doesn't in the least sound Southern. So I don't even know where this woman's from, except that she just don't seem to belong in the position that she was given here on this grand jury here. There's this article here from Mediate, excuse me, and it's written by Candace Ortiz. 2 hours ago this was put out, entitled "Charlie Kirk Claims Georgia Jury Forewoman is a Witch Trying to Put a Spell on Trump, cites her Pinterest posts about herbs." Political commentator Charlie Kirk apparently believes the Georgia jury forewoman involved in the election crimes case regarding Trump is a practicing witch. Or as Kirk has affectionately labeled her, quote, Harry Potter girl, unquote, appeared on various news outlets Tuesday, offering an inside look at the grand jury investigation of Trump's effort to overturn election results in Georgia. After her media appearances were circulated far and wide, Kirk suggested that Kohrs was a closeted witch, thanks in part to the discovery of her Pinterest page. On the Wednesday edition of the Charlie Kirk Show, Kirk broke down his findings and even shared a personal story of a witch encounter he claimed to have had in 2021. Quote, "I saw a clip of her this morning. And as soon as I saw it, I said, oh wow, they have a Harry Potter girl running Trump's grand jury, unquote, Kirk said. Quote, there is a culture that was created especially with millennials where they got super obsessed about Harry Potter and they talk a certain way and they giggle a certain way, unquote. Quote, she thinks she's a witch. And it turns out that my suspicion actually was totally and completely correct. We found her Pinterest page, the Harry Potter girl's Pinterest page, unquote, Kirk exclaimed. After explaining a few of her previous media appliances, Kirk elaborated on the research he found on Kohrs' Pinterest page. Quote, she posts on her social media page about herbs, about casting a circle, demonic circles, how to cast spells. Not a joke. This is all on her social media page. She actually is a witch. She's into witchcraft, unquote, Kirk said. Quote, and as soon as I saw a video of her, I said, whoa, that is someone who thinks they're Hermione Granger, unquote, Kirk said, referencing the famous Harry Potter character. He also analyzed the clip of Kohrs expressing her excitement that she would potentially swear in former President Donald Trump if he were indicted. Quote, that's really creepy and weird. Would you want to, like, vex him or put a spell on him? Unquote, Kirk asked, which he later corrected to, quote, unquote, hex him. After Kirk went to a commercial break, he began to get a flood of emails from viewers advising him to not make fun of witches, warning the young radio star that they have lots of power. Quote, that's not true. They do not have a lot of power, but they do have some if they really into it. I do believe there's some very dark spiritual implications and dynamics here, unquote, he said. Quote, I was once speaking at Legacy Church in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the land of enchantment, which is, in my opinion, the most outwardly pagan state remaining in America, unquote, Kirk said. Quote, I was talking about how I believe marriage was between one man and one woman, unquote. Kirk alleges that at that point during his speech, 3 witches came up to the stage and started saying stuff to him. Quote, maybe it was a coincidence, maybe it wasn't, but I got super sick right after that, unquote, Kirk said. Quote, that was pretty chilling, unquote. Kirk later posted the Pinterest evidence on Twitter, which shows the stuff that he's talking about here that Emily Kohrs, the jury forewoman, had on her page. Which is gobbledygook to me. I don't even know what the hell that stuff is. Magic on one side, sacred science on the other, and obviously she's into this shit. Only she could read it. Okay. So, I'm not the only one that thinks this girl is off her fucking rocker. But here's the thing. In our system of justice, a jury is comprised of your peers. Okay? And unfortunately, that means we have to dive into the social pool that's out there, as tainted and bizarre as it may be right now in this day and age. We're still reaching into that pool to try to find people to do their job as a juror. Okay? I'm sorry, but, you know, I think that that's where the flaw begins in our justice system, is when you start dipping into a society that is self-destructing around you and asking them to bring justice to a case. All right? I'm sorry. You know, maybe at one time, a long time ago, you know, people took things like this serious, but as you could see, this girl here is like bedazzled by being a jury foreman, on this goddamn case. And she thinks she's got, you know, notoriety and she's popular, and it's just getting to her. She's all giddy with friggin', you know, you could see it in her eyes. She's just so excited about being the center of stage, you know, getting the spotlight. This is not about making a star. Okay, people watch that show about, you know, America's Got Talent, and I think after all these years of people watching that, they all think that they're just waiting for their moment to get discovered. Okay, and when they do, they're gonna dazzle you with everything. They certainly make it look easy enough on that show that anybody can be a star, right? But that's not the case. How many of these people actually go on after they're whatever they're on that show and be something. Very few, okay? So this is the kind of, this woman, 30-year-old woman, she's part of that generation that grew up with this instantaneous fame, and that's what she thinks is happening here, okay? She's being interviewed by every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there, and what we're seeing is a person who can't handle the attention, okay? It's gotten to her head. And, how can we actually look at this person and say she's actually fit to be on a jury to deal with the biggest criminal case in American history concerning a president, a former president? I mean, how can we lay that on the hands of just anybody in society? I don't think that's right. I don't think that should be the case. Okay, I think that, in a situation like this, you want to have sane minds sitting in the jury box. Okay, sitting, with being able to identify problems in the case or something like that. They have to have some kind of goddamn ability to do their job and not get all flustered and not shoot their mouth off all over the damn country to every press agency about what went on. Okay, do you see any of the other jurors doing this shit? No, it's just her. It's just her, and she's making the rest of the jurors look like shit, because of her mouth. So it's really sad in a way, but when they talk about a jury of your peers, I don't know if they had this in mind when they said jury of your peers. I mean, did they say, jury of the mentally insane, or okay, is that your peer? Because if it's true, then all the people that are sitting in a mental health hospital need to be discharged because that's your peer. That's considered normal. If you're crazy or normal, that's just your peer. Okay? Why are we trying to help these people if we think they're crazy? Because if they're crazy, then they shouldn't have the ability to be able to sit on a fucking jury to do anything, because they're crazy. Jesus. So here is this woman that on her page, she's got witchcraft stuff on there. Okay? And, that right there is like a, red flag. And, it just seems like, this is the time when people ought to be just, thinking very peculiarly here about what's going on here. Why is this happening in the most important case that this government will ever see? Okay, why is this happening? Why are we going down this road? Is our society really that broken that we can't find anybody better than this? That we can't treat a situation like this in a better way? Okay. We're not talking, Donald Trump is not just some jerk off the street that, we're trying to get put in prison here. He was the former president, and he committed crimes. Treason, for Christ's sake. I mean, he tried to overthrow a fucking election. This is big shit, okay? And we got to treat it that way. We don't want to be getting these goddamn Harry Potter girls here, sitting on the jury, okay? I'm sorry. If that sounds, racist or whatever you want to call it, but it's the truth. I mean, if you want to get somebody that you really hate, like somebody shot your daughter, okay, or your son, and you want justice done, and the jury is comprised of people that come out of a circus, are you going to feel, secure with that? Okay, just think about that before you open your yap and say, oh, you're being an asshole. Okay, just think about that. Think about that for a minute. This case is important to everybody in America. 70% of this country is like, wanting to see Trump hang by the friggin' neck there for the shit that he did. The other side is just a bunch of idiots clapping and applauding about what he did. So they, along with him, ought to be out there, answering for this stuff. And a lot of them are, but, I'm just saying, this is important. And important things have to be treated responsibly, and this doesn't look like they're taking this responsible. Okay, when they interviewed these people before they sat them down, they should have saw that this girl here is not going to be very good here. And they instead, what do? They get her on it, and they make her a forewoman. This country never fails to surprise me when it comes to crazy shit. And I'm sure that this story is going around the planet here, and I'm sure there's a lot of people laughing their asses off, okay, at what we're doing here. And I'm sure the first thing that came to mind is jury tampering, and Trump not going to get is not going to get busted for anything here, what he did. Okay, and that certainly would be the more logical road to walk down, considering this. And there's this other article here that's talking about how she's getting a lot of flack now, this forewoman here, after this interview that she had. And this is from Inside Edition, which, you know, has got excerpts of, you know, her interview there. And, you know, yeah, I mean, I would say yes. It was expected. You know, it says here in short, it says the forewoman of the grand jury investigating Donald Trump is under fire after partaking in an interview. Emily Kohrs just wrapped up an 8-month investigation into alleged election interference by Trump and his companions in Georgia. She was seen trying hard not to say something she couldn't about the case during an interview. Legal experts are baffled at Kohrs' decision to speak out now. Trump is going after the forewoman on Truth Social. Okay, so apparently she's sitting there yakking about things that she really shouldn't be talking about, and you know, now she's under fire here from people. Okay, and I say, well, that's your fault. You picked this woman. You must have heard her talk when you interviewed her to see if she was going to be fit to sit on that jury panel. Whoever picked her to sit on there ought to have their head examined, because this woman here needs to have hers examined. So I feel like this gives Trump, you know, a weak spot to exploit to defend himself by saying, "Ah, well, this woman it's a kangaroo court." I mean, that's what he's calling it, you know, and you know, he's going to argue that whatever they come up with is not going to be. It's not going to make any sense because you had this ditzy witch sitting on there as the forewoman. And I'm thinking she was deliberately picked to sit there just because of that. When they saw her talking and the way she, her mannerisms, they said, "Oh, this will be a good person to put here because it'll give Trump an angle, his lawyers an angle on discrediting the whole process because we picked the wrong jury." Okay. So that's what I'm saying. You know, it's easy to see, you know, what might be going on here. You know, because this girl certainly looked like she was out there. Okay, out there on left. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if she was just a deliberate plant. They probably created a Pinterest page for her and everything, and she's coached on how to act stupid, and they put her out there and have the jury pick her. Okay, you know. Who knows? I mean, is anything beyond Trump? Can we assume that Trump isn't capable of anything? Can we? You know, can we? I mean, there's really not a whole lot you can say Trump isn't capable of doing. Okay, I really think that this man is, by definition, the kind of guy that you would see in a classic TV program where you have the villain that's the Teflon villain who the police can never get. But he's always the guy that the police are always trying to get. Okay, you know, it's like a Batman villain, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's like you keep throwing these people in jail and they keep breaking out, and you know what I'm saying? It never ends. And I think that Trump is one of those guys that, you know, no matter what wrong he does, he finds a way out. You know, and there's not a damn thing I would put past this guy. You know, even if it meant having somebody assassinated, I think Trump would be, you know, on board for that no matter what. Okay, that's how bad I think this guy is, and that's why I say this has to be treated seriously, this case. Okay, and I'm not just being a prick here. I'm just saying that, you know, this is very important to the stability of this country in the future. Okay, because if we can't put, you know, people in their place, even the president, when they do wrong, then what the fuck do we even need a goddamn justice system for? Okay, it's broken. All right, if we can't lay fault on Trump and put him behind bars or something, then the justice system means nothing. Okay, we have no justice system. This is the test. This really is the test on our words and our actions. Can we deliver what was promised when we founded this country? Can we actually get justice for people that do wrong? All right, let's go to a commercial break.
This fall, make a brilliant getaway to Maine. Start planning your Maine vacation at visitmaine.com. You'll find hundreds of fall getaway packages filled with exciting special offers. You can also request your free Maine travel planner. Come discover, there's more to Maine.
Making a domino machine.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody. All right. So, on top of this today's story here about this crazy woman on the jury, you have another crazy woman here, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wants to prevent a civil war by banning Democrats who moved to red states from voting for 5 years. Yeah. Okay, you know, we'll prevent a civil war by starting a civil war. I mean, what the hell? Jeez, why do we even bother? Okay, now here's this story from Ceylon, from Ariba Shah, and it's entitled, MTG wants to prevent a civil war by banning Democrats who move to red states from voting for 5 years. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene suggested that Democrats who move to Republican-controlled states should be banned from voting in elections for up to 5 years. The far-right firebrand on Tuesday floated the idea after right-wing host Charlie Kirk asked how the GOP could stop liberals from, quote, trying to invade our states or our counties, unquote. Quote, what I think would be something that some red states could propose is, well, okay, if Democrat voters choose to flee these blue states where they cannot tolerate the living conditions, yeah, like that's really going to happen. They don't want their children taught these horrible things, and they really change their mind on the types of policies that they support. Well, once they move to a red state, guess what? Maybe you don't get to vote for 5 years, unquote, Greene said. Quote, you can live there, you can work there, but you don't get to bring your values to that you basically created in the blue states you came from by voting for Democrat leaders and Democrat policies, unquote. Greene on Monday repeated her call for a quote-unquote national divorce between liberal and conservative states. Quote, we need a national divorce, the right-wing lawmaker tweeted. Quote, we need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this, from the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous American last policies, we are done, unquote. Her tweet sparked widespread backlash from both the right and the left. Senator Mitt Romney, Republican, Utah, denounced her comments on Tuesday and said that Abraham Lincoln dealt with that kind of insanity during a brief press availability during his visit with lawmakers at the Utah Capitol in Salt Lake City. Quote, we're not going to divide the country. It's united we stand, divided we fall, unquote, Romney added. But Greene defended her stance on Kirk's show, arguing that a national divorce would not bring a civil war, but would instead offer states more power to govern themselves. Quote, it's actually separating by red states and blue states and making states' rights and state power a lot stronger than it is right now, unquote, Greene said. Quote, it would be shrinking the federal government, for example. We can take education. Well, if we have a national divorce, there's no need for the Department of Education. Red states and blue states would be in control of the education in each state, unquote, she added. Under this system, Greene suggested that red states could bring back prayer in school and require every student to stand for the national anthem and Pledge of Allegiance, while blue states could replace anthems and pledges with, quote, identity ideologies like the trans flag and BLM, unquote. Greene also appeared on Fox on Tuesday, where Sean Hannity questioned her about her position. Quote, the last thing I ever want to see in America is a civil war. No one wants that. At least everyone I know would never want that. But it's going that direction, and we have to do something about it, unquote, Greene said. She added that everyone she has spoken with is sick and tired of being bullied, abused, and disrespected by the left. Hannity Hannity on the show endorsed Green's proposal, no surprise. Quote, the Congresswoman has another idea as well, banning people who move from blue states to red states from voting for 5 years so they don't bring their bad politics with them. Hannity said, I actually favor that idea. But a growing number of Republicans have spoken out against Green's call for a national divorce. Quote, this rhetoric is destructive and wrong and honestly evil, unquote. Utah Governor Spencer Cox, a Republican, tweeted in response to Green, quote, we don't need a divorce, we need marriage counseling. And we need elected leaders that don't profit by tearing us apart, unquote. The White House also echoed a similar response to the GOP lawmaker. Quote, Congresswoman Green's comments are sick, divisive, and alarming to hear from a member of the House Oversight and Homeland Security Committee, unquote. White House spokesperson Robin Patterson told the Daily Beast, quote, congressional Republicans have an obligation to say clearly whether they agree with Congresswoman Green's calls to dissolve the union or condemn her vile push to further divide our nation, unquote. So, yeah, you don't get anything out of her mouth except something that's going to gaslight a fight. Okay, that's all she's good for. She's not about uniting the country. She's always been about pitting one person or one group against another. That's all she does. And here she's taking it up to another level. She wants to take one state and fight it against another. Okay? She's looking at, she's wanting to split the country up, where we have nation states instead of United States. Okay? If she thinks the red states can go it alone without the aid of the federal government, good luck with that, because their states are always the poor states in the country. If you look at it, the red states are the ones that draw the most from, the privilege of using this country's safety nets that we have in place for people, like welfare and stuff like that. It's always their states that take the most of it. Okay, the blue states seem to be able to handle things a bit better. Okay, and if she thinks it's a smart idea to cut the red states off from the from the privilege of it, they're going to have to come up with their own military. Okay, because hey, why is the shrinking federal government going to want to disperse its assets to these red states who don't want nothing to do with them, right? Makes sense to me. So guys, you want to go it alone, fine. If you don't want a federal government for all your little states you got, then hey, you're going to be on your own. Each state's going to have to take care of itself. Okay, so what you're going to end up creating is a bunch of little countries inside the United States, all on their own. Okay, they're going to have their own presidents and all this stuff. So what are you really talking about here, Marjorie? I mean, if you think that the red states are going to be united, it's not going to happen. Okay, because you got people who run those states with the mentality that, oh, we have to come first. We're not going to. They don't want to be part of a union. They don't want that. That's not the way they think. Okay, you don't. These people aren't going to want to be united with this other red state or that one, because that's not the way they think. It's different with the Democrats. Their blue states would coalesce together into the government. Okay, and it wouldn't be. They wouldn't shrink it. Okay, they would maintain it. For the size of what they have, but they wouldn't shrink it so that way the red states can still be under the flag. No, why should they deserve to be part of the national flag if they don't want to consider themselves part of the union? Okay, I'm sorry, if your state is going to be on its own, then your star is going off the flag. I'm sorry. That's just it. Okay, we're going to go right back to the days before the country actually came together and made a national country. Okay, you could start that by changing the look of the flag right now if that's what you want. But she can't get all the Republicans behind her on this idea. Okay, they see what she's saying as just being divisive and being wicked. Okay, basically, she's got a wicked mouth, and the stuff that she says is nothing good. It's always bad. It's always divisive. It's always something to start a fight. Okay, this woman can't say anything that would get people to applaud over something positive in her fucking life. Okay, that's what makes her a person who's doing the wrong kind of job for her whatever talents she has. Okay, she's in the wrong job. She shouldn't be there. Okay, it's only because of the weakness of the rest of the country, the voters out there who are gullible enough to listen to her and think she's right. Okay, when any one of them could be 5, 6, 10 times fucking smarter than her and probably do a way better job than she is. All right? Don't, just because they are sitting in Washington, D.C. doesn't mean they're a fucking god, okay? These people are just as fallible as anybody I've ever met. And they're very capable of making mistakes. And because they back something and they keep telling you it's right, don't believe it for a fucking second. Do not believe it, okay? They don't know. They have no idea, because every time they open their yap about what could be, it's all theory. In their minds it works, but they don't think about the small parts, the details. The bitch of everything they talk about is in the details. And that's the part that you and I and all the other voters have to take the time to investigate. Look at the details about the things they tell you. You know, think about what they say and how that you think it's going to work out. You know, if you can't imagine how it'll work out, then you need to ask somebody that can imagine and tell you what they say about what their plans are and what would happen if they did this and they did that. Because there's a lot there that they don't tell you. Okay, it's one thing to throw out an idea and you say, yeah, that's a good idea. But let them throw out the idea and then break it down to you and tell you why this idea would be a good idea. Okay, that's where you're going to see, oh, well, maybe not, you know. Okay, that's what the Republicans don't do. They don't want people to think too much about what they say, because that means that they would know whether they're being lied to or not. They like their voters to be as dumb as possible. And that's why a lot of the people you see voting Republican are really a lot of people with a screw loose. Okay? And you can't, it's easy to get mad at them, but you got to pity them too, because they don't know better. All right? They're just flailing through life on a wing and a prayer, as they say in the song, and they don't have any fucking idea about a damn thing or what they need to do to better themselves. Okay, they can't. They're unable to, and you know, you have to pity them. But that's the kind of people that Republicans like to go after to be part of their voting base, because it's very easy to guarantee that they will be on their side voting when the time comes. The ones that they really like to get are the people who are indecisive, you know, the in the middle of the road people. Those are the ones they like to get. Okay, and the same thing with the Democrats. The Democrats like that too. That they have their base and they know they're going to get their vote. But the ones that they want to get are also the indecisive. Okay, those are the ones that they want to get on their side. And there are people in the indecisive that are right or left leaning. Okay. And some have brains, some don't. Okay, it's a very mixed pot in the indecisive crowd out there, and like I said, both parties go out there to grab them, as many of them as they can get, to side with them. Okay, but this idea of hers about, preventing a civil war by splitting the country up, which would be the end result of a civil war, okay, and then saying to any Democrat, well, you can't vote for 5 years because you were living in a blue state. For one thing, I'd like to see why she would think any Democrat would want to leave a blue state to live in a red state, knowing what they do there, okay? I can't see how there isn't a mass exodus right now of people leaving Texas, and heading to the nearest blue state after the shit that the governor down there has been doing the last couple of years. Okay, I just don't see how that anybody would even be tempted to want to move there. Their states would have the smallest populations, and they would be run into the ground. Okay, they would be nothing but ghetto states if we let this idea of hers come to fruition. Okay, that would be the end result. Would be the red states would be the gutter states who can't govern themselves with the smallest populations, and the blue states, just continuing to advance, and the people are happier. There's jobs and all kinds of stuff are going on, and they're able to be a powerhouse in this country. Half the country would be prosperous, the other half would be in the friggin' tank. You can't have a country like that. Jesus. So let her run her mouth, bury herself all the more, because people are actually putting things together in their mind in the right wing. And as much as people want to separate themselves from Donald Trump, from the moderate Republicans that are still left there, there's people also that want to separate themselves from the Lauren Boeberts and the Marjorie Taylor Greens. Okay, there are just as many of them that wish they weren't there. Okay, because every time they open their yap, they damage the party as a whole. Okay, and that's what they got to look forward to here. Right, and finally, this article here from Huffington Post, written by Ed Mazza, entitled "Donald Trump Jr. Gets a Scathing Reminder of His Father's Mental Competency." What the hell. Donald Trump Jr. on Tuesday echoed a call from his father that presidential candidates, quote, take a full and complete mental competency test, unquote, in order to run for office. Now, this is in response to all the people laughing and joking about President Biden in his, when he's giving a speech or something, and it's like he loses track, of what he's saying, and he can't find the words right off. Okay, they've been poking fun at him about that. Okay, quote, he did this himself when he was president, unquote. The son of the ex-president wrote in sharing the message from Donald Trump's Truth Social page. But his critics quickly pointed out that Trump didn't take a mental competency test, or at least didn't announce the results if he did. Instead, he took something called the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, or MoCA for short, which is used to check for signs of the cognitive impairments that could be an indication of dementia. Quote, it is supposed to be easy for someone who has no cognitive impairment, unquote. Dr. Ziad Nasreddin, who invented the test, told MarketWatch in 2020. It asks the subject to do things like identify an elephant, or remember and then repeat 5 words, which in Trump's case were, quote, person, woman, man, camera, TV, unquote. Trump boasted that his doctors were stunned by his ability to recall the words. Quote, they say, that's amazing. How did you do that? I do it because I have like a good memory, unquote, he said in 2020. Quote, because I'm cognitively there, unquote. On Tuesday, Trump Jr. bragged about his father taking the test. And this is what he tweeted here. He's 100% right. He did this himself when he was president. He would have no problem doing it again. I don't think we can say the same about the current occupant of the White House. Donald Trump replied, anybody running for the office of President of the United States should agree to take a full and complete mental competency test simultaneously or before with the announcement that he or she is running, and likewise, but to a somewhat lesser extent, agree to a test which would prove that you are physically capable of doing the job. Being an outstanding president requires a great mental acuity and physical stamina. If you don't have these qualities or traits, it is likely you won't succeed. MAGA. His critics fired back. Person, man, woman, camera, TV. Ha. The test was for dementia, you absolute chode. That's right, he had to remember a bunch of words, right? I think they were, your dad will never love you. Imagine bragging that his father was able to identify an elephant in a picture and he would have no problem doing it again. Nearly half of Trump's own cabinet ended up coming to the conclusion that he wasn't mentally fit to serve as president. I have yet to hear that from anyone in Biden's cabinet or any responsible Republican. I don't think this is the winning hand you think it is. And this came from Chris Jackson. Here's another response here. He bragged about being able to identify a fucking elephant and memorize 5 words in order. Twitchy. In the meantime, he asked about injecting disinfectants, stared directly at an eclipse and said windmills cause cancer and that there were airports during the Revolutionary War. So don't. Americans do remember how Donald Trump aced his mental competency test. The test would have admittedly been trying for any 2-year-old, as it involved repeating person, woman, man, camera, TV in that precise order. That ability is, of course, inherently presidential. Wink. So, to sum up here, Donald Trump Jr. here is trying to defend his father in some way. And what he uses to justify his standing with his dad is this stupid mocha test that he took, which is supposed to be for dementia, and because he could remember 5 words and stuff like that, he thinks all this makes him a better person than Biden to be president. Really? Okay. That kind of argument isn't helping your father any, because, we've got him several times, and you could look it on YouTube of things that Donald Trump has said in various speeches and rallies and stuff like that, where he's said things that, people are clapping, but then when they look back, they say, wait a minute, what did he say? So, we're not really sure how effective that test is, but it's not designed to test his IQ. It's designed to see whether he's suffering with dementia, okay? And I think the test that Trump was trying to say, that the mocha test, was for his intelligence instead, okay? And it wasn't. If it was an intelligence test, the questions would have been a whole lot harder. And I think in that regard, Biden seems to be a lot smarter than Trump. Even in his elderly state, he seems to be keeping pace, if not passing Trump in every possible way as president. Because you look at what Trump left behind in just 4 years, and what Biden has done in just 2 years since he became president, okay? And believe me, Biden's done a whole lot more for America than Trump ever did. In fact, there's nothing that Trump even really accomplished except, lowering the taxes for the rich, okay? Other than that, he didn't do anything. He didn't even do anything with immigration, okay? That problem still remains. In fact, if it wasn't a problem, why are the Republicans out there bitching at Biden because so many more people are coming across the board? Well, that wouldn't be happening if Trump did what you said he was going to do. Build a friggin' wall, okay? Apparently that wall, how much of it he got done, isn't really working now, is it? Okay, so that argument there about building a wall has already been blown out of the water, okay? Matter of fact, they showed pictures of the wall, and there's parts of it that are blown in the wind. It's rusting out. They're not, it's gone. They never finished it, okay? Because Biden shut it down. And the thing is they want to try to say that Trump did much better on immigration than Biden. Well, how can you say that when whatever Trump was trying to do with the wall never actually got finished? Okay, so nothing ever got done. That was money wasted. We can't get that money back with whatever part of that they built. We can't get that back. So it was money wasted there, and that's the only thing that he did, okay, or he tried to do. And like I said, he didn't accomplish anything except get 500,000 people or more killed because of his stupidity about a damn pandemic. Don't drink Lysol or whatever the hell. Drink bleach. He'll get rid of it. Yeah, right. I'd like to see President Trump, or former President Trump, I should say. I'd like to see him take and drink some goddamn bleach when next time he gets sick. Honestly, the way the right wing tries to stand up for this guy, and I'm going to say Trumplicans, okay? The way the Trumplicans try to stand up for Trump is sickening, okay? Because in order to stand up for this guy, you have to ignore the failures that are associated with that name, okay? You have to ignore all of that, and believe me, they are numerous. There are many friggin' failures under his old administration, and the proof is a lot of these people are looking at charges, jail time. The lawyers have to have lawyers. Jesus Christ. It's not just Trump. It's the entire cabal that worked in the White House, for Christ's sake. They're all in this thing together. It's like a fucking mafia ring that was running this country for 4 years. He brought that goddamn way of thinking right in there with him, okay? And that goes to show you probably how he ran his business and why his business has all failed, is because of the way he did his work there too, So whatever his father did to become big in his day, it didn't translate to his son in any fucking way, okay? Donald did not get any of that brains for business from his father. He didn't get it at all. In fact, I think, his brother, who wanted to be a pilot instead of getting involved in the family business, probably knew better than anyone that, you know, if Donald Trump got a hold of his father's money and stuff like that, that he'd bury himself with it. And, you know, I'm sure that's why he didn't want to work with him, because he just didn't want to get in trouble and go down with him. And that's basically what's going on. I mean, you look at what his niece wrote in a book about that family. You know, it was very, very damaged. You know, it's a very broken family, all because, you know, of a lot of greed and a lot of ambition, setting one after the other. I mean, they're just, and you know, a lot of it about Donald Trump himself and how, you know, he seemed to be at odds with everybody in his family. You know, he's a guy that didn't have much use for his family at all. And you know, he just wanted to live his life his way, and, you know, to hell with everybody else. And it shows. You know, even when he was president, that attitude there shows. You know, what's good for me is fine, but you're not going to get it. You know, I'll convince you you're getting good stuff, but at the same time, I'm shafting you right up the ass. I mean, it's just, I'm running to the bank and making money on all you guys' stupidity. And he's still doing it now. He's still getting money. People still donate whatever nickels and dimes they have in their pocket. They donate that to him. Okay, when these people really when he ought to be out there giving to these people that he's put in the gutter here, he should be the one giving money to them. It should be the other way around. If he was any kind of a human being, you know, that's what Trump would be doing right now with his fucking wealth. He'd be turning it around, giving it back to people who need it more than he does. Okay, but you know, people are gullible. They're stupid that way. You know, that's why, you know, I always wonder, you know, why churches take people's money when it should be the church given to people who need the money. Okay? Instead, what you get is, you know, we'll give them food and some used stuff and everything. It's like, you know, you can't pay bills with that. Okay? You can't get a place to live with cans of food and stuff like that. What people need today is fucking hard cash. Okay? And since you're always getting money all the time, every Sunday, on your collection plates, and making your mega churches bigger, fatter, bigger, you know, why don't you turn around and do something to show people that you're a person of your word, that you believe in what you tell these people about Jesus and all that? Why don't you do what Jesus would have done? Okay, he'd have given all the assets, you know, all the profit of whatever the hell you're running there would have been handed right back out to the public to help people as much as they could. You know, there wouldn't be no such thing as a mega church under Jesus. Okay, those things would not exist. Okay, I'm sorry. There would be a church only by the name of the group that comes together, because that's really what the church is. It's not a fucking building. It's the people that are in it. Okay, and if you can't look at it that way, and you only want to look at it through the structure that you assemble in, then you don't have any fucking clue or any right to call yourself anything Christian, okay? Because you totally miss the point. All right, you totally miss the point. Anyway, yeah, Trump. Okay, Trump is, you know, the epitome of corruption and greed that you could ever find in modern America today. All right, and everybody around the world knows it. Okay, they didn't even have to live under this regime for 4 years to understand that. They knew what a lot of people in this country didn't want to hear. Okay, and you still have people out there who still want to believe in what they supported because they don't want to feel like they got hoodwinked. They don't want to feel like they were stupid enough to believe what Trump was telling them. So in that respect, they're never going to admit that they were wrong. Okay, they're never going to admit that. There's always going to be a group of MAGA nuts out there. No matter how many years go by, what'll happen is the generation that are the maggots now will die off, and as time goes on, people will forget about that and move on, and Donald Trump will just become another, you know, facet of dark history in this country. Okay, and that's the legacy that family's going to leave in their wake. And I don't see how, you know, why Donald Trump Jr. wants to try to come out here and shield his father with the flimsiest method possible here, with the flimsiest of stories, to say that my father's so intelligent and all that. You know, he's sniffed too much drugs here, Trump Jr. and you know, he's really backward. Okay, I mean, his father was no good influence on that kid at all growing up, and it shows. It really does show. Okay, that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Please keep your ears open to any local COVID-19 news, and subscribe and comment, and please treat each other nice, and I hope everybody has a great time trying to understand what it is about being nice is all about, because frankly you're not going to know until you try. But it does come back to you. Goodness goes out, comes back to you, you know, and you just have to wait for it. It does happen. Okay, just try. You know, if you can stand up to a veteran and say thank you for your service, then you have the courage to be able to be kind to people. You know how to do it. Okay, it doesn't take that much more effort to do that. All right. Talk to you later.